Hey guys, we're starting to finally see signs of a reversal in the multi-month correction we've been seeing in Stellar Lumens, as well as the rest of the cryptos and the market at large. This is our 15-minute chart in Stellar Lumens, and you can see that after we hit our low on June 18th, we've had a pretty promising looking rally, although we're not totally out of the woods yet. Before I dig into the rally structure, we're going to zoom out a little bit just to show where we've gone and where we've been ever since we had a rally set up. So we initially had a bottom on May 12th, and what looked like the start of a rally kind of fizzled out. This looked like it could have been an ending diagonal forming, but it didn't. So we went pretty low in early June, and then we had a slightly lower low in on June 18th, and the same happened for most of the cryptos. In the case of Stellar Lumens, we actually didn't go much lower than we had been, so it's really more of a triple bottom than anything else. Ever since then, we've been rallying. Now, these charts are available in the links below in the description, so check them out down there if you are interested. But ever since, we do have what we are calling a 5-wave impulse up, so I have this counted as such: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, with the third wave subdividing as well into a 5-wave impulse. And it looked like we may have been taking off in our third of our third wave, but this latest pullback has pumped the brakes a little bit. When we look at this, we could easily count this as a 1, 2, and then the third wave. This could have been a fourth wave, but we should not have broken back down below the 0.618 extension. This is our crucial pivot box in Elliott wave theory, in which you want to blast through this box and hold the lower support. So it doesn't mean that we're done and this rally has been invalidated. It just means that it's not looking as ideal as it could. However, the good news is that when you look at our MACD, there is a divergence here. So if we can turn back around, we may be able to preserve our upside rally setup as is. Now, when we look at our two main cryptos, Bitcoin and Ethereum, we've had a similar pullback, but it hasn't really broken ideal support as it has in Stellar Lumens. You got your first wave, second wave, and this looks more like a micro first wave. So this could, in theory, go back down as far as the bigger second wave low without invalidating the upside setup. So Bitcoin looks fine, as does Ethereum. We have the same thing here, in which we touched the top of our pivot box, and well, we broke below it, but we didn't break through the pivot yet. So technically we haven't invalidated anything. So this very well could still be a very extended micro first wave, something like that. And you see similar action, some of the other coins, and Dash, it's actually looking relatively healthy. This looks like a standard, maybe a nested 1, 2, 1, 2 setup based on this being a 1, 2 and a smaller 1, 2. So we don't have too many obvious signs of a faltering rally just yet. So let's see if we can reverse this. We're already seeing some green candles develop. So that is the short-term chart. Long-term, things haven't changed too much since our last update. And well, we've had quite a shift in sentiment across many of the market sectors. I have the ES mini futures up here. This is the futures market for the S&P 500. And we had a low on a similar time frame around June 17th. And we have something that looks pretty impulsive. You can call that an impulse here. That could be a leading diagonal. It actually looks better than the S&P 500, the SPX, but you're very likely in the middle of maybe the third of a third wave, something like that. Although we've had a small pullback here, but things are looking very bullish across the equity space. And because the cryptos and stock market have been tied together pretty well, their inflection points aligning over the past several years, we expect to see similar action in the cryptos. So if we see a consolidation in the stock market, we may see a bit of a consolidation in Stellar Lumens and the other cryptos. So big picture, we haven't changed too much. We're still maintaining our MACD divergence, which has been tilting, it's been trending upwards, even though we've had a bit more downside action. And you can see that we did pierce this pink box on our latest pullbacks. And you can also see that there is that triple bottom here. So that's a strong resistance. For whatever reason, we can't seem to break down through that. So we're calling that support. Doesn't mean we're totally out of the woods. We could still see this thing swing back and go a little bit lower, but we're not seeing any signs of that in the other cryptos, as I just showed you guys on the other charts. Now, big picture, here's what we're looking at. Or before I go to that lower low potential, that is the orange alternate pattern. So just a side note there. So shifting to the big picture, I did mention in the last update, as well as our State of the Cryptos update I released on Friday, that I see this major top here, December 2017 or January 2018 for other cryptos, as a major third wave top. And that doesn't make obvious sense when you look at the big picture, because where the heck is the 1, 2? Is that big enough to be a proper 1, 2? That doesn't look like it's proportionally correct. You could go on about whatever arguments you have. But the reason why I'm interpreting this as a major third wave is that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dash all had a similar thing happen, in which this was clearly a third wave in the big picture pattern for Bitcoin. See, I'm going to zoom out a little bit and get my drawings off this. So on Bitcoin, you got a first wave potentially back here, third wave, fourth wave, maybe, fourth wave here. And then this would be the fifth wave that is in completion. Ethereum, same situation, in which you got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Dash again is my most clear chart because I have less chicken scratch on it. Makes it a little bit more obvious what I'm talking about. This chart goes all the way back to 2014. So 1, 2, 3, 4, whichever bottom it is, and a 5. So it has that diagonal look. When we look at Stellar Lumens, I'm interpreting the same way, same with the Ethereum Classic, Bitcoin Cash, some of the other coins that have also been around somewhat longer, but not as long as Bitcoin or Ethereum. So that means that we have one more rally to go to complete this major finishing. I'm actually on the weekly interval. Let me put this back on the daily interval again. So what I'm looking at this is as, well, this bottom in March of 2020 being the fourth wave bottom. I know that EOS and potentially some other coins have actually broken that low. So we're interpreting all these slightly differently. With Ethereum Classic, Bitcoin Cash, we're actually looking at this as a 5-wave ending diagonal. But here, we're looking at this more like a lot like what we're seeing in Dash, where you have an A, B, and one final C wave. Why is it a zigzag? Because in an ending diagonal or a leading diagonal, whatever it is, in diagonals, each of the subwaves within your 5-wave structure take 3-wave zigzag form. And they're not always as clean as we'd like. So I'm interpreting this third wave as also an A, B, and a C. The proportions make a lot of sense. This looks like an ABC. This is not identifiable as an impulse, no matter how much you want to. And we don't really have a first wave back here because this coin didn't exist that long ago. So we'll take it with a grain of salt that this really is a fourth wave and potentially it overlap the first wave. Maybe this is the first wave. I'm not convinced. Maybe this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You pick your poison, however you want to interpret. This is how I'm looking at it. So if that's the case, we expect one final 5-wave impulse to take us all the way into the blue box. First, we need to get in this small blue box for our first wave. This could be in the 38 to 40 cent range, just based on some standard proportions. We don't know how high we're going to go yet. We need to see some upside action first to more or less confirm we're going to get here, and it should be a 5-wave impulse. Expect a second wave pullback, which will be a great buying opportunity if you're trying to go heavy on your cash allocation to XLM or other cryptos. And then we can catch that third wave, which will be the strongest part of the movement. And eventually our topping targets, there's a lot of confluences up here between $3.12 as far up as $8.91. I know the fibs here go up to $11.53, but there is long-term confluence right around that upper $8 mark. And if you look at this as if it's a diagonal, you often see a top around the 1.764 extension of the original 1.2. So lots of different confluences are pointing us to the top of this box, top half. And here, because of the wonderful trend channel lines, we can actually make a timing estimate. And this is putting our timing somewhere within 2023. I know it's a broad brush stroke here, but with this blue dashed line, bottom of this box showing June of 2023. So we may have a year left before we get to the final rally top. I know it's hard to believe because we haven't seen any upside in a long time in anything for that matter, except for energy and oil. But we do expect one more top, and that could be the everything top. So that's right. This would be a major top, and that could mean that we're going to be in a long-term bear market because it's a diagonal pattern, this entire rally structure. We could see a cliff dive in a lot of coins, not just Stellar Lumens. So it would be prudent not to hold through it unless you expect to invest for the next 20, 30 years. Then you can buy and hold, but it could get real ugly. We're talking about upper $9, upper $8 range, all the way down to the origin point of wherever this rally started. So yeah, below a cent. So for all our practical intents and purposes, zero. But that's not something we got to worry about right now. We still got a lot of upside we need to prove and validate. We need to see some impulsive 5-wave action to the upside before we're ready for that. So subscribe that we don't miss my updates on Stellar as well as other coins. And if you enjoyed my video, don't forget to give me a like. Till next time, thank you for watching and happy trading.